Hey everyone, it's Paige with The Paige Show. I hope you love what you're listening to or watching today. Don't forget to share the love, follow us on social media, subscribe where you can, and go to thepaigeshow.com where you'll find some of my favorite things. Check out yoga downloads so you can keep your mind right, keep your body right on the go. Maybe some of my favorite things can become your favorite things too. Welcome back everyone, it's Paige with The Paige Show, and today's episode is Misconceptions of Spiritual People. I have been waiting a while to do this one. A lot of things had to go on my plate before, but this is probably one of the most important episodes that I will do. I will start with my personal experience, what kind of started me down the journey of thinking about this period. Part of it is just signing up to do this type of human experience. So when you're on the path of what people like to label a spiritual person, okay, someone who's a light worker, who's put themselves out there, maybe we have titles like intuitive, psychic, or whatever titles the rest of you can think of, good and bad, medium, all of those things, we create misconceptions around those titles. If you listen to Diaries of a Medium, I do a whole section about titles. I'll be doing a lot more with that soon, because titles are huge in how we create false realities of our life. False belief systems and all of that can be around titles and what we perceive from experience that those titles mean. And so when you say a spiritual person, or one of the titles I just listed that's included in that, you think, I will not even go past this one. I'll say a Christian. When people say Christian, you immediately, I know I do, have a lot of things come to mind about what that word means to you, and it's probably not exactly how it's meant to be, right? And it just makes you really more easily able to judge, okay? We don't usually have a problem judging each other in the human experience, but anything that adds to the plate is probably something we want to keep in check. And titles do that, and specifically talking about spiritual people. So you get this vision of this person's a light worker, so they're, always like, meditating and praying, and they're, put almost like on a pedestal or this unrealistic platform, from being out here and doing this work. That title will say to people, well, this person is not likely to get angry, or they're going to be showing compassion. They won't lie or cheat. They're not going to do all of those, lower vibration things, because they're titled a spiritual person or a Christian or whatever would group yourself or speaks to you to be in that group that I'm talking about. And it's just not true. I probably could mic drop right there and just say it's not true, but I figure I'll explain a little bit more. It's not true. In fact, it's the complete opposite, because when you've signed up for the journey to have a contract like this, to actually care about humanity, what's going on around you, and try to just be a better version of you, so you don't even have to be technically on a spiritual platform. You're just seen as a spiritual person who likes to study or look at things in spiritual realm, yogi, whatever that may be. You're grouped in that, and you're like, because you do this thing that's labeled spiritual, then you must be these things, right? But in reality, to get to a place to even want to discover that, to want to do the things that make you seek enlightenment and all of these wonderful little frou-frou words, you've gone through hell to make you want to get there, all right? And when you go through hell, that personal hell that I talk about, you come out with a little bit of bruising or scarring, all right? And so those are pieces that you're constantly working on. So you're outputting energy to, you know, live a better version of you, to discover what that might even be. I mean, we're some of us are still there. We don't even know. Like, we wake up and we feel fine, and the first time we have to interact with another human, it all goes to shit, because, you know, humanity as a whole can be ugly. Like, I don't want to say is ugly, like there is light in all of us, but as a whole it can be really hard when you're struggling with your own life, your own stuff, to interact with other people, because everyone's struggling with their own stuff, right? And I say sometimes I think you'd have to be like God himself, herself, right? You'd have to have the energy of spirit to ever cope with a single human in this life 100% well all the time. And none of us are those things, right? We have those pieces of us, we have that power within us, but we are in a human experience, and we are humans, and we are flawed, all right? And so the misconception of spiritual people came from that, because I have had a lot of experiences of, and I talk about this in the Dirty Laundry episode. It's really private and personal that it just came right out. Those experiences where I didn't handle people in the right ways, the ways that are more of like love and light and all of that stuff, those experiences really set me up for criticism. I mean, I'm trying to think of better words, and I guess I just shouldn't really censor it. There were a lot of experiences in my life from people who I really cared about, who I thought would be on this journey with me for a long time, who at every chance of my awakening, you know, after my near-death experience especially, I talk about that in Diaries of a Medium, where I woke up and I had to get to work. So it was like night and day for some people. This is the Paige that was struggling, and you know, maybe they were part of my bad choices, or they saw my bad choices in that stage of my life, and then I have that experience and I have to wake up and I have to start doing the work. And it's night and day for them. Like, how can you be this person and then now you're on some spiritual journey for yourself? And there was a lot of hate and criticism thrown my way that easily, had I not gone through the near-death experience, could have, hindered me in a way, or made it a lot more scary to do. But a lot of people would come to me with comments like, well, I thought you were doing the spiritual thing, and this is how you're reacting to that. You know, never mind, you know, they could have just cussed me out or insulted me or whatever. Like, their energy is not even talked about. Like, whatever they gave out to receive the reaction they got from me, it always works that way, right? However, you know, they took that as an opportunity to kind of like stab a little bit and say, well, you're a spiritual person now. And I say it with that voice because that was kind of the condescending energy that came my way a lot. I think all of us could say we've had that at some point in our life. If we've just ever tried to do better, you'll have those people who try to hold you down by guilting you into the person you were, or who they thought you were based on things that you did. But what we do does not define us, right? It's part of our story, but everyone else has a hard time seeing that, especially if they've been a part of that part of your story. And so the misconception of spiritual people is that we are not love and light all the time. There is a tank top, I think I saw it like on Facebook or something. I so need it, but I'm not sure that I could really wear it anywhere appropriately. But it's like, I'm a little bit of love and light and a whole lot of FU. And there are days where that is literally like my mantra, because doing this work, you are, whether you're out here doing videos or you're just doing it in your personal life, trying to be a better version of you, it is really hard to go through that process, to work through our shadow pieces while interacting with the world. Because there are days where it's almost like, at least in my life, where I feel like it's just testing me. Like, are you testing me to see if I'm gonna lose my shit today? Because it's like one straw away from happening. Because of that, it sets us up to be criticized that you're this spiritual person and you shouldn't be dropping an F-bomb and you should be the person we always depend on. And it's just not true. We're humans having a human experience like the rest of you. The only difference is we're trying to be a better version of ourselves, and maybe we're doing that through spiritual modalities or whatever that may be. It doesn't even have to be that. Something that just came to me is how you're out of shape and you want to get in shape, and you'll have people wanting to hold you down from that too. I have an experience of that in my own life, like a time where when I was talking about in another episode, I went through major surgeries and had 3 years of like not getting to truly exercise or even walk for a while. It was hard for me to see my partner continue to exercise and have his regular routine when I couldn't be a part of that. And I know there were times where I was just like, can you watch this with me instead of like going to the gym or whatever. And we had our own like coming to Jesus talk about that, where I realized how wrong I was in holding that back. But another example of just we're flawed when we're going through our own things, which we always will have. It doesn't even have to be spiritual, on the spiritual plane to be able to fit into what we're talking about today. It's really about people just not letting go of their perceptions of you, and how that will tend to put you on this false reality of a pedestal that you won't be able to ever maintain, right? We just can't. You can't. So don't put yourself on one, because you'll be the one knocking your own ass off of it. And you can't help if other people do that, but to your best ability, when flawed, or when you have an experience that you think you could have been a little bit better of a version of yourself with dealing with, then just know that that was a pedestal they put you on, not yours. And you recover by just mending it the best that you can afterwards and moving on. I mean, that's really all that any of us can do. Try your best to be that love and light, and if you miss it sometimes and there's more of the F you that's coming out, then you just try to do better next time. But the misconception of spiritual people, that stigma on everything really needs to shift, because it hinders a lot of people from doing this beautiful work. People who are not bold enough to be out here, to be criticized, or to have their dirty laundry exposed, they will just not do anything. Maybe they do it on a very personal level, but they might have so much more love and light to share with the world that's just not being seen because of fear and all the apprehensions that they have from not wanting to be put on that pedestal. And if you've ever had that come back at you, if you've ever had someone look at you and say, well, I thought that you were a Christian, or I thought that you were this spiritual person, and yet you're doing this or that, if you've ever heard that even once, you know how bad that stings. So if you're one of the people out there doing that, please stop. If you hear this and you feel guilty, you should, because it's the worst thing that you could do to a person, no matter what their journey ends up being, how many times they fell at it or succeed at it. None of us can be put on a pedestal that will ever be able to actually maintain. And so in that is built-in failure, and failure will really, the feel of failure will really make us feel stagnant, or will stunt our progression. Whatever we're meant to do, we're going to end up doing one way or another, but it can be a lot more painful if you have all of these obstacles, these unnecessary things, thrown at you. So if you're part of that, you could help by just stopping, don't do it. And if you're on the receiving end of it, you got to keep going, all right? What you got to say is a lot more important than what the people who criticize you are going to have to say, all right? So you don't read it, don't partake in it, whatever you got to do. I'm behind this camera speaking from experience, all right? But do what you got to do to keep going. Know that your journey, whatever that is, your spiritual enlightenment, whatever you've chosen, Christianity, anything that gives you that label to make you a better version of you, that is your journey. It is your process in your own timing, and no one can take that from you, and no one can define you by what you did. They may try and they may verbalize it, but the only person who will let it actually define you is you. So if you hear nothing today, understand that there is a huge misconception of spiritual people. We will not always be love and light. We will reflect the highest possible good of ourselves from the place that we're in currently. We will always be evolving, and if you catch us on a good day, maybe we can counteract your negative, lower vibration energies with the love and light that we're supposed to have all the time, or maybe we won't. It depends, you know, energy can reflect energy, so we all have a part in that. I would like to say that overall, more than not, I make the right choices, or I'm even able to bring up that level of restraint to make the right choice. But overall, we are humans, we are flawed. That's why we're on the path of seeking anything in the spiritual realm, or anything enlightenment or higher consciousness, whatever word you want to put on it. We're already aware of our flaws, which is why we're seeking all of those things. And so therefore the flaws are still there until completely, you know, healed or dealt with or restrained. So understand we all have a part. Let's try to keep titles off of things. You know, try to keep people off of pedestals that they are not able to maintain, and start loving ourselves. Like, love yourself enough to seek your own way instead of trying to keep somebody else's way down, or keep what they're doing down, and love yourself more than the criticism, to keep going, because it doesn't matter your title. It matters that you're doing this for the better version of you, so that down the road there is no room for criticism, because you have worked through all of your junk. Be on the journey with me. I'm working through my junk. Work through your junk. We're doing it together. It's all connected. And in the meantime, just remember, there's a huge misconception on titles, especially spiritual people. So if you see a spiritual person, give them a hug, because they're on the journey. They're knee deep in. They're doing the best that they can, just like the rest of you.